Very good morning to all of you. In fact, the Bhishma of condition monitoring and vibration, in fact, those persons who taught me, Dr. B.V. Rao sir and Dr. Prasad and my dear friends here. Somehow I have been trained in such a way that I need to focus specifically on the topics of interest, what we are discussing. In fact, I planned a presentation for about 12 minutes on that. But what triggered my thinking was that question of self-reliance. I'll just take a minute to explain my views on that. Globalization in economy or mutually holding hands with each other is applicable only for select few countries. Suddenly the chairman of Fed will announce that quantitative easing is likely to be discontinued. All the developing countries' economies will go for a 6, and the 4th day he will say, I may have to reconsider by the time the country of interest has made the required money. That is mutual handholding. The countries which are likely to be a sort of technological challenges to the big nations are the nations which are always focused upon of their interest, so that they are forced to depend on them for every critical thing. Singapore is a separate. Singapore is not a challenge to any of those countries which are today talking about globalization in economy. We are. Once you are there in the arena of challenge, the total rules of the games are different. Okay. So this word globalization or mutual interest, holding each other hands, are all selective terms of this decade or century for making those countries which are already grown and developed to further grow and keep us at a different location. Okay. Having said that, it's open for debate. I'm willing to defend whatever I have said. Let me come to today's presentation. I have got very strong views on that. That's right. Okay. Gentlemen, Government of India through its departments on science, like Department of Science and Technology, Department of Atomic Energy, Space, Agricultural Research, quite a few of them, have created sufficient support structures for funding of research programs. In addition to that, like Dr. B.V. Rao said, the culture of promoting research programs both in private and as sponsored by individual philanthropists is yet to pick up in this country. So most of the research is funded by the government. Department of Defense Research and the Ministry of Defense has a very well-defined norms and execution methodology for funding research works. In fact, DRDO has got a separate directorate called Directorate of Extramural Research, located in New Delhi, to whom any applications of research work can be addressed, irrespective of area of whether it is of direct relevance to DRDO or not. This directorate is supposed to forward those applications to the people who may be interested in that work anywhere in Government of India, and depending upon the interest or the commitment or the likelihood of exploitation of that work, within a period of 3 months and sort of a presentation will be arranged, and the funding, whatever is required, will be debated and will be granted. There is no upper limit. This is what is there in the wall. But let me present you the brass tacks. Many of us keep talking that there is no adequate funding, there is no support for research and all that. Since that I am partly involved in some of these sponsorship grants, I know for sure, I can talk with numbers, that the number of people coming forward to take up research works from the academia with a commitment to meet the end results are really lacking vis-a-vis the funds that are being offered. DRDO in itself has got 3 or 4 different boards. Boards are like AR and DB, Naval Research and Development Board, Aeronautical Research and Development Board, materials, quite a few of them are there to address specific areas and domains. Since I am presently from an aeronautical community, I try to address the fundings that have been done by ARDB and how they are done, what is to be done to get the funding, and how much we have been spending, and how much have been the commitment. Talking very much at the ground level. How does ARDB define the research projects per se? And in what form and where do they intervene to support these programs? DRDO generally defines the technology readiness level in a scale of 1 to 10. 0 to 3, as you can see here, are basically in the phase of concept definitions, basic principles, innovations. Basically, something like a science and technology which is required maybe down the line 5 years, 10 years, of that nature, for which you don't visualize an immediate requirement, but there is a possibility that it can lead to a future requirement. This type of fundamental research are categorized in a scale of say 1 to 3.5, technology TRL level, it's generally called TRL level. And these type of projects meant for academic institutions, the moment we cross over to say 3 to 4 and up to 4.5 to 5, where based on this concept level definitions, some sort of developmental efforts can be made or applications can be found out. Those type of research is funded both by ARDB and by DRDO by itself, because they are able to now visualize a possible application for the concepts or the theories that have been proposed in the DRL level 0 to 3. Then you cross over to 4.5 to 5. It becomes some sort of a technology or a process or a product becomes visible, and which can be found sort of application in any of the projects running in DRDO. So in those bandwidth, say between 4 to 7, DRDO will be funding. It is more like a technology development projects. Subsequently, when you graduate between 7 to 10, everything is established. It is a product development for reliability, quality, for ultimate induction and use. Those type of things are still development supported by DRDO, users and industry, because there is a very well defined application, requirement, timeline. It's like a converting into a final useful product. So based upon the type of work what we are planning to take up, anywhere in the TRL zones of 0 to 10, we should try to address those requirements to the concerned, the forums which will be funding us. This gives you from complete domain of the sources from which you can fund it. In fact, for us also in DRDO, whenever we propose a project to the government for sanction, we need to undergo this exercise as to in which TRL level it falls to. In fact, if I am going to say that I am taking up a project for the TRL level more than 7, it will not be sanctioned, because it is a project. Moment you say more than 7, it's a project for which there is no research required. It is only a product development, and product development can be done by different organizations. So this gives you broadly as to you should define the TRL level of the work which you are planning to take up, and accordingly take up your subsequent processing. ARDB, in fact, was set up in 1971. The mandate is given here to formulate R&D programs, promote education and training. ARDB regularly holds seminars, continuing education program courses, interaction with the faculty, a sort of lectures for motivation of the students, and quite a few. And also is a source for where you have all the research works done by different faculties are available in one point, which have been funded by ARDB, and it is accessible to all the people. Of course, since that it was in 1971, today people who are in top notch have been people who have been funded earlier by ARDB. ARDB is authorized to fund, like I told you, these different domains of work, whether it can be a short-term and long-term R&D plans. In fact, we have plans running up to 8 years funded by AR&DB. In fact, whether it is facilities requirement, advanced processes, in fact, including HRD is also addressed by AR&D. We are also authorized to support those programs which are directly or indirectly related to development of a combat aircrafts, missile developments, or any such things. These are all the domains in which the ARDB 0 to 3 tier level, they are willing to come forward to help. ARDB is organized into 6 technical domains. In fact, it is very interesting if you observe that all these 6 domains of work like aerodynamics, structures, propulsion, systems and system engineering, materials manufacturing and aerospace, all of them are headed by faculty members, professors from different institutes, who will decide that the project proposals that are being sent to ARDB are reviewed properly and they find merit in the case and they only recommend the case for sanction, which means it is by a person in that field renowned for his work who goes through the proposal that are received from other faculty members, who finds merit and says that this project is worth its application for sanction. And in fact, as per my statistics, ARDB till today has sanctioned 1,450 projects. What is more interesting comes in my next slide. If you see the expenditure and the sanctions made. Basically, allocation and sanction are 2 different terminologies which we use in government parlance. One is we give you sanction for a particular project and subsequently we don't disown and say there is no money available. In fact, allocation, we always make sure that the concerned individual or the researcher is never found, he never goes out of money or goes in search of money. So if you see this graph, generally the dark blue either matches the sanctions given or always above the sanctions already given, which means a person as and when he sanctioned a project by ARDB will never suffer for want of funds. This has been the case history as it is shown from 85 to till today, and it will continue. So if you get a project sanctioned by AR&DB in terms of research work, be rest assured that you are assured of the funds that are required for completion till the end. Not that we see that 6 months and we say that after 6 months we will release next funds and all. They're not done. Funds will be made available to you as and when there is a requirement for completion of the work. And the bottom one shows the type of distribution of projects over a period of time. You can see that the other institution part is gaining vis-a-vis the national institutes. It's a very interesting thing, and I think it should continue further because the number of other institutions when compared to these national institutes are phenomenally more, and I think their contribution in terms of research projects should be at least some 70% of the total work. That much faculty, that much knowledge base, that much experience and expertise is available there, and this pattern that is shown here is very encouraging. What is the vision of AR&DB? There are 5 focused areas. One is, because this is an aeronautical research and development board, on flight safety. Second is the topic of what we were discussing on self-reliance, environmental protection, affordable air transportation, and of course, since it is from DRDO, it is for defense preparedness. In any of these areas, ARDB is willing and open for taking up and supporting research programs. There are 2 ways by which these projects can be initiated. One is top-down, where AR&DB members or the associate committees, what I said, with its members can identify some areas of requirement and communicate to the faculties who are competent in the field, requesting them to take up work on that particular area. That is top-down. Bottoms up, from the faculty members, if they find there is some sort of competence or requirement or a knowledge base available in particular area which can be of relevance to AR&DB, they can send it to those 6 committees which can be processed for sanction. Both are acceptable. In addition to all this, in addition to all these sanctioned projects, there are projects given for special focused disciplines. Like for example, in terms of gas turbine enabling technologies. Because in this country today, one area in which we are very weak is propulsion. Whether it is automobile propulsion, marine propulsion, or whatever be the propulsion you talk, either the design is from abroad or the whole unit is from abroad. This is really not a comfortable situation. You can't say that you are on self-reliant, in fact, self-reliant or your own if you are buying out the propulsion unit from abroad. Because without an engine, the aircraft cannot fly. If you are buying the engine from abroad, you don't know when you will be grounded once for all. To focus on to this particular area of propulsion, government has given about 85 crores to GTRE under the GATET program. GATET is Gas Turbine Enabling Technologies, so that in this area of propulsion of aerospace, aero engines, people who are willing to work can be supported following the same TRL scale. It's more like a subroutine of the main thing. On gas turbine engines, applications development and research, there is a separate program for 80 crores also to GTRE, and GTRE is supposed to find out all the people in the research areas willing to work in this propulsion system applications and fund them. It is a focused development area because there is an area in which we are very badly lacking. Similarly, there is a national mission for micro compact air vehicle development. For that also a special sanction has been given, and the coordinating lab which is located in Bangalore, called Aeronautical Development Establishment. In addition to that, there are centers of excellence that have been created in different IITs for composite and structural dynamics and for structural design and engineering. That is focused areas, so that people with that specialization can form special interest groups and work in those areas. In addition to the general sanctions, these are all sanctions available in focused areas. In addition, there are a lot of national initiatives that have been taken through AR&DB by DRDO. Some of them are listed out here. Some of them are already sanctioned and operational. Some of them are in the pipeline. Like for example, I told you micro air vehicles, gas turbine initiatives, composite structure technology have been already all have been initiated. High temperature materials is one where the government is willing to give through DRDO to the engineering faculty members about 120-130 crores of rupees for taking up research projects in high temperature materials. Subsequently, next will be experimental hydrodynamics, then integrated vehicle health monitoring. All this will be following. The allocation of funds, as I told you, in fact, for both approaches, top down and bottoms up, is shown here. If you see here, it is always that it is the top down that is taking more initiative to get the projects going, and it is the bottoms up approach. Not many cases are coming to DRDO for consideration for taking up research work. This is a fact of life. You may like it or you may not like it, because many people keep telling, I want to do some research work, but there is no funding agency, nobody is telling me what to do. But the ground reality is, given a situation like what we are seeing in crores of rupees, it is the top-down approach where DRDO drives and requests people to take up research work. The percentage of it is much higher than people voluntarily coming up to take up research work. I think they should change. I told you we have Directorate of VR and IPR, and in addition to all this, Director of each lab has got provisions to sign what they call it as with research, with an educational institution or with a research foundation, contract for acquiring of research services, that is called CARS, to meet any of the development need of the lab in those areas. If the director of the lab feels there is some other institute or an educational research forum available, quality time, if it is satisfactory, the next project can be upgraded.